Exams quality assurance body Umalusi has raised concern about the effect of protest actions in the smooth running of the examinations. The body says in the northwest, arrangements had to be made for the close to 460 candidates, while over 50 candidates in Gauteng could not write due to community protests. In Mpumalanga, over 1,000 candidates were prevented from accessing examination centres. There's other issues worrying the exams quality body as well. Mafu Rakometsi is Umalusi CEO, and he joins us now. Mafu, thank you so much for your time. We've had this conversation for most of this year when we realized that this class of 2022 is a class that has faced challenges like few other classes before them. They are the class that have gone through the senior part of their high school career through a pandemic. We had the unrest, civil unrest last year. We've had load shedding and the list, and of course the economic impact of all of those things. And the list just goes on. And now issues around the examination process since it started about two weeks ago. Can you highlight for us what your major concerns are as we head almost to the halfway mark of these matric exams?
The major concern of Umalusi is around issues that we have control over as South African citizens. We do not have control over the COVID-19 pandemic. It would appear we don't have much control over the load shedding that we are facing as a country. However, the issue of community protests is something that can be managed if we care for the right of our learners to education. That we have to say to ourselves, let us prioritize the education of our children so as to ensure that they have a brighter future. Now, for community members to block roads when learners have to go for examinations is uncalled for. It is just creating unnecessary problems. So we are appealing to the members of the South African public to desist from obstructing examinations in any way. That is the major concern we have for now.
Our schools find themselves in the midst of communities going through all kinds of things, and often is a reflection of what is happening in the neighborhoods and the community around them and the families whose children go to these schools. For instance, if crime is a major issue in a community, there is going to be an issue with crime in the schools. We've seen with areas where there are high incidents of violence. Violence is indeed also an issue in our schools. What kind of reaction are you getting from communities who you are appealing to? Yes, we understand your need to stand up for basic services to be delivered to your communities because the children are impacted by the lack of services as well. What kind of reaction are you getting for your appeal to say, please, can you just take into consideration this very important few weeks that these children are facing that could have an impact on the rest of their young lives?
There is a lot of sympathy to the appeal that the department has been making together with Umalusi. There appears to be a willingness on the side of the communities to build a hedge around the education of their children. It is because all the adult members of our society understand the value of education. They understand the importance of children securing a good future through education. You'd understand if you were planning to go write an examination and you are stopped from doing so when you are ready to do so and your examination has to be postponed to another date. That is a disruption that can be traumatic to our children. So I've observed that when we make this appeal, the majority of the members of our communities are very sympathetic and they understand.
There are some other issues that you've raised as well, and this is it's rather more intricate and to do with certain papers. One of them you've raised is your concern over the alleged problematic questions in the mathematics paper 2 question paper administered by the Department of Basic Education. Can you fill us in on what the issue was with that paper?
The issue with that paper was an error that crept into the paper. I need to just indicate that the paper is set by examiners, a panel of examiners, and they are checked by a panel of internal moderators who belong to the Department of Basic Education. And thereafter, the papers are checked by a panel of external moderators employed by Umalusi to give the paper Umalusi's final stamp of approval. We don't know yet where this problem crept in, whether it crept in as the paper was exchanging hands from one panel to the other, or this problem crept in at the time when the paper was being printed. Whatever the case may be, learners will not be disadvantaged by this. What is going to happen is that at the time when the memorandum will be discussed, they are going to ensure that the learners are not advantaged by either compensating them for the 7 marks that they are going to lose as a result of the error in the paper, or removing the 7 marks from the total of the paper. And also beyond that, there is going to be a standardization process that will be looking at how the learners have been negatively impacted on by this error in the paper, because the error might have thrown them off when it comes to the other questions. So there are mitigating arrangements. There are systems that we have that are built in, that are tried and tested to correct such irregularities in our examinations.
You've also raised the premature release of 2 question papers to Umalusi, because you normally get the papers on the day or just after the papers have been written for quality assurances and that kind of thing. How serious are these kinds of logistical issues going forward?
This one did not arise from the Department of Basic Education. It arose from another independent assessment body called the South African Comprehensive Assessment Institute, where a paper that is going to be written tomorrow was released to Umalusi on Friday afternoon. And upon realizing the problem, we alerted them that they have released a paper of physical science, which is physical science paper 2, on Friday, when they were supposed to have released physical science paper 1. We thereafter indicated to Sakai that they have to withdraw that paper 2 that has been compromised and go to a paper that was already prepared, which was their backup paper, so that tomorrow the Sakai students will write a backup physical sciences paper 2 instead of the original one, because the original one was prematurely released to Umalusi.
Okay, so quite a few rather intricate issues there, but it sounds like it's more logistical than anything else. So let's hope that can be tightened up as we head into the last section of those exams. Thank you so much for your time this afternoon and for that clarity. That is Mafu Rakometsi. He is the CEO of Umalusi. We thank him for his time.